Morning.
Morning.
Dion's here pretty much every Sunday.
It's nice having her in town.
12 or so on Freed Hardman. We'll split it about half.
Yeah. Thanks. 11:15.
Hey, good to see you.
So glad to be here today.
Yeah, glad you're here. Check 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3. If you would come on in, we'll get started. Thank you for being a part of our Bible class today, and it was a great hour of worship. And we're going to turn it over to David to speak, and we still have every intention of getting us out of here about 11:15. So we're glad that you're here. If you're visiting with us, thank you for staying as well. David?
Can I teach down here or do I need to be up there?
You need more to podium?
No. Is that good?
Great.
Okay. Good morning. All right. Good morning again. It is good to be here. Thank you so much for your encouragement, and just the opportunity to be here. And, I mentioned John and, Tom Anderson. What a blessing they've been on the board and their leadership. And I know there's several others that are involved in Freed Hardeman in so many ways from West 7th Street. And if I'm mentioning names like that, I feel like I have to mention our brother Kerry Couch. What a tremendous Board of Trustee member that he was. And I'm reminded of that passage in Revelation that his works do follow him. And still, even at Freed Hardeman, his works continue to follow him. But I wish you guys the best. And what I'll try to do in the 30 minutes we have here, I'll try to split about half the time and give you partial update on Freed Hardeman. And then I look forward to sharing just a few thoughts from Proverbs with you. I'm going to mention several things about Freed Hardeman, more so hopefully at the higher level, just a few times going a little bit deeper. And if it seems like at times of, wow, he just kind of passed over that, it's not because maybe, it's not because I don't think it's important or whatever. It's just we don't have time for like an in-depth update on all of Freed Hardeman. But if it sparks questions, of course, we'd love to visit with you and answer whatever questions you have. I do bring you greetings from Freed Hardeman University, where we have been doing higher education at that very same address since 1869. In just a few years, we'll start our 156th year of higher education there. And it's a special place. It's hard to put into words how the place has impacted so many of our lives. And I was at a funeral just 2 days ago. And one of the things that was mentioned at that funeral was that the deceased met his wife there and how that impacted the rest of their life. And the beauty of Freed Hardeman can be measured in a lot of ways, but I don't guess there's anything more important that it has a way, and for generations, it's had a way of nurturing relationships, first with God and second with others. And that's one of the beautiful aspects of Freed Hardeman. Niche named us the safest college campus in all of the state of Tennessee and 22nd in the nation. It's neat to be in a small town where you feel safe, and for the most part, you definitely are safe. But two words that best describe us would be Christian education. And for us Christians, not just a label, it literally is then the DNA of who we are. All of our faculty are faithful Christians, and academic staff are faithful Christians, and the majority of our students are faithful Christians. And yet, we're an imperfect place. We have a lot of imperfection there, but what's neat is we have our Christian faith that draws us together and helps us to have strong cords that are much more than just education. It's growing that whole person. And that's what separates us maybe from a lot of other institutions across America, is we truly do strive to grow the whole person. And a part of that is emotionally and physically, but also relationally. And but that doesn't take away from that second word. And that second word is education. As a matter of fact, it strengthens it. And we are a place of higher education, and we take it seriously. As a matter of fact, our mission touches eternity. And any mission that touches eternity ought to be done with excellence. And so that's why we approach education with a mindset of, hey, let's not only do it right and do it well, but let's do it extremely well. Our mission is to help students develop. I love that word develop. It's the idea of grow, mature. We love to help students. Notice we can't do it for them. I like to think about a greenhouse. A greenhouse can provide all the moisture, the light, the temperature, everything that's needed, but it's up to the plant as to whether or not it wants to go into that greenhouse. Now, of course, with students, we can't make them grow, but we can promise you this. We have an environment that if you want to excel academically, it's a great place to do that. If you want to grow relationally, it's a great place to do that. If you want to grow closer to God, if you want to deepen your faith, if you want to be a greater servant in the Lord's kingdom, we have an environment where all of that will grow and develop if that's what you want. And so that word develop is very important to us, and we want to help students develop their God-given talent for His glory. And we believe that we can do this through the power of education. We're going to empower them with a Christian faith, scholarship, and service. And so let's think about the excellence as we think about any mission that touches eternity ought to be done with excellence. Our Henderson cohorts over the last 6 years of nursing students that have graduated and taken the NCLEX, you know, that's the only way a nursing graduate can be a registered nurse is they have to take the NCLEX. Now, they can take it over and over and still be a nurse. It's kind of a little, next time you're in the hospital, don't think about that. But you know, they could take it for the 6th time and become a nurse. But universities are graded, they're rated on how many of your graduates can pass it the first take. And you probably know maybe a school or two across Tennessee that maybe has 2 years in a row. I didn't look. I really don't know if there's any right now that do have 2 years in a row, the latest. But even if you knew across the nation a school that has 3 years in a row, it would be few. You're looking at something that's kind of unprecedented. The idea of having 6 years in a row of 100% pass rate, we don't know of anybody in the nation that's anywhere close to it. It's absolutely amazing. And that would be true at any time period, but right now, that includes every season of COVID, all the years that were affected by COVID. And so it's amazing. I wish I had time to tell you the anecdotal stories of the doctors that work with our nurses that just graduated and look them in the eye and say, where'd you graduate? Freed-Hardeman. We need more nurses from Freed-Hardeman. It truly is amazing how well they are equipped. You know, we just had graduation in May, so the 31 nursing students that graduated are all taking their tests now, and keep this under wraps, but we're right now 28 for 28 this time. So 3 more, we'll have 7 years in a row on that. Our PTA program is relatively new. We've only had 2 cohorts to graduate, but we're getting extremely great feedback from clinicians and et cetera. And we have 100% pass rate on both of those cohorts as well. We have an investment team in our College of Business that is getting close to 20 years into this, and that's where 10 to 12 students every year invest $1 million. Now, we could take that $1 million out of our endowment, but we don't want them to have that experience. We want them to have to look the investor in the eye on a quarterly basis and give them a report as to what they did with their money. It's a real life experience, and it is amazing. We also have a 4+1 that we began many years ago before a lot of other schools did it, and still many aren't doing it now, and I don't know exactly why. But we do a 4+1, and it's where, like, say, to our College of Business, we say, if you want to graduate with just 1 extra year with your MBA, let us know going into your sophomore or junior year, and we'll put you on a different track. And then your senior year, you start taking graduate level courses. And so you get undergraduate scholarship while you're getting your graduate degree, and it saves a lot of time. So it saves a lot of time, a lot of money. I'm telling you that to say this, and I don't know particular, I forgot to ask, but I just know all the years that I've been there, it would most likely be the case that every one of those students there are probably going to graduate in 4 years with an undergraduate in business, finance, accounting, whatever it may be, and an MBA in 4 years. And they served on a team that managed $1 million. Now, you imagine going to downtown Nashville, applying for a job, and you graduated from another school, and you got to compete against that. You're either 21 or 22 years old, you have a finance degree, an MBA, and you managed $1 million in high school. You ought to hear their anecdotal stories. You ought to hear about their interviews. All they want to talk about is how did you do all that by the time of 22 years of age? Tell me about that investment program. It's pretty neat. That's one of our, the arrow there is pointing to Rob Hatchett. He's one of our alums. He provides the $1 million for the students, and it's just a tremendous, tremendous program. In our data analytics, we love going to those competitions in the spring. This was from a few years ago in Washington, D.C. This is where all the teams are given the same data from a real company. It's usually several 100,000 rows of data. They have 48 hours to analyze it and give a report about it. And so they only, like in this particular competition, they only gave away 3 awards, no first, second, and third. It's just 3 awards. And we competed against like University of Maryland, Johns Hopkins University, William and Mary, just a lot of universities that you would know about, and we walked away with one of the 3 awards, and it was Best Insights Awards. We went to Chicago the next year, we walked away with Best Visualization, and then the following year we went to East Kentucky University. We took 2 teams that year, both won awards there, and one won Best in the show. And so I just paused there to say, like, this idea of what happens when you have faithful Christians teaching faithful Christians in an environment where you're not just a number, like you're known and you're loved, and students are found by their teachers of, hey, what's your dream? What do you want to do? Let us help you direct your path. And it's pretty awesome. Also, this is our summer research program. And these students were on campus until just a few weeks ago. They stay on campus for half the summer, and they go to work every day in the lab, and they work about 40 hours a week. And I don't have time to tell you about the 3 different areas of research they're doing, but one of the cool ones that they just began this year is sequencing DNA, and they went, because obviously as creationists, we believe that there's a high likelihood that dinosaur bones are much, much younger than others would believe they are, so we believe there's a possibility that there would still be live tissue in them. And so our team is literally drilled into dinosaur fossils, and they're running sequencing DNA to see if they can find live tissue in it. And it's pretty remarkable. And it's those kind of things that they enjoy doing. But what's more, well, maybe I shouldn't say more important than that, but what's just as important is that they learn how to do research, because everyone up there except the 3 guys in the maroon there, they all have plans to go like med school, veterinarian school, pharmacy, the places that they need to do undergraduate research in order to be accepted in the program, but also to excel in the program. And so that's very important. The guys on the end, they're computer science guys, and they run all the data. There's tons of data in DNA sequencing, and it's a bear, to use that expression. And those guys worked hard this summer trying to figure out how to manipulate all of that data. And so that's very important for this reason. I don't have time to run through these, but these are acceptance rates into professional schools and et cetera. And all of those are probably anywhere from 10 to 20 to 30% above the national averages. Like, in other words, if you want to go and be a medical doctor, someone says, I had this well, let me just tell you how the conversation went. Well, why are you going to that school? It was, you might have heard of it, it's a little school in East Tennessee, and the color is orange. And I said, like, why are you going there? And said, well, I want to be a medical doctor. And I said, okay, so why are you going there and not Freed-Hardeman? They said, well, Dad says that's my best chance to get accepted in med school. And I said, but it's not. And she looked at me and said, our acceptance in med school is much higher. And she just looked at me like she couldn't believe it. I said, well, don't take my word for it. Call them, and then call Freed-Hardeman and just see. And she said, well, I've always wanted to go to Freed-Hardeman, but the problem is Daddy won't believe me if I tell him. I said, well, you don't call then. Go home and ask your dad to call and see what their acceptance rate is in med school, and then call Freed-Hardeman. Next time I saw her, she walked back up. She had this beaming smile. She said, Daddy called, and I'm coming to Freed-Hardeman this fall. And so it's just awesome to see how God has blessed Freed-Hardeman, and that's all the glory to God for what he's done. And so, you know, what's your best route to med school? Yeah, it's that place where people are going to learn your name, and they're going to love you, and they're going to push you like none other, and they're going to challenge you. And if you're capable, we can't do for you what you're not capable of doing. But if you're capable, yeah, we can get you there. I think about our last student that came through Freed-Hardeman and had 36 on the ACT. Since then, he's received a master's degree from Georgia Tech, and now he's getting a doctorate in engineering from MIT. And we look at that and we're not surprised because we get to see all the time what students that come from all over the nation that are highly capable, we get to see them in that environment where individuals want to help them grow. I wish I had time to tell you about Peyton Kane. I just don't have time to tell you the story, but I'll just give you the overview. He wanted to go to Houston, to UT, University of Texas, dental school. The acceptance rate's 6% in that school. And not only did he get accepted, I wish I had time to tell you what his professor said to him the first day about, we got recommendation letters for you from your professors. And he said, this is quote, "I've taught here a long time. We've never got letters like your letters. Freed-Hardeman must be an amazing place." And so did he get accepted to UT on his credentials? Yes. But did he get accepted on Freed-Hardeman's credentials? Absolutely. That's what his professor was telling him that first day. We were impressed with you, but we were impressed. Now, how do our guys do, our young men and young women, when they go on? It's not uncommon at all for them to lead the class. They're never behind. They're never behind. They come in excelling. And as a matter of fact, his first year, he was president of his class. And the third year, they were giving the white coats to start out your third year. And, that's where they call you across the stage. They give you a white coat. Notice what's going to happen here. You don't need to hear the sound. Notice this. He was the only one that got a standing ovation. So the guy calling out the name felt like he needed to explain to all the parents and the family members that were there. And so when they are quiet and are seated, he says, "You're probably wondering why Peyton Kane received standing ovation. It was because his peers respect him so much. He's been their class president now for 3 years, and they love him and respect him." That's what we get to see on a regular basis. Freed-Hardeman is a place where because we're small and we are just wired this way, we put a lot of leadership ability on the students. And so they grow as leaders while they're there. We're really excited about our enrollment. We're thankful for the increases taking place. Students come to us from 39 different states and 18 different countries. And 83% of our undergraduate enrollment are from Churches of Christ. And that creates an environment where the faith is strengthened and you share faith with individuals, relationships with people of like faith, which then carries over into friendships that's just easy and natural to carry out throughout the rest of your adult life. But I want you to notice that 90% there. That's another one of those things that when you consider an open enrollment like we have, to be able to have 90% retention rate, and that's fall to fall, 90% retention rate is kind of unheard of with open enrollment like we have. We're really thankful for that. This is our first graduate of Doctorate of Ministry this past May. We just started that program a few years ago, and study abroad is all over the world. We have students any given month. There's very rarely that we don't have a month that we don't have students in other parts of the world, and it's just amazing. This is where our students led their own spring break mission trips. And notice how it's literally across the whole nation, and then 3 international trips. And again, I want to emphasize, the students organized these, they executed them, they organized their travel. One guy, I always get letters back after they've been, because you go out to Oregon, Alaska, places, many people do not know Freed-Hardeman. And it blows their minds that there's 19, 20, and 21-year-olds that are capable of leading a vacation Bible school, or they're capable of handling their own travel. One guy wrote me a letter and he said, "Do you realize," this is one of the international trips, he said, "Do you realize that one of your girls arranged the travel of $40,000 of airline tickets?" And I was like, well, yeah, that happens every year. They can't do that when they come to us at 18 and 19. But by the time they're there, their junior and senior year, they've grown and developed, and they can do it. And it's absolutely amazing. Interface is still an amazing time for our first-time students to come on site. It's neat to think that many of those in that picture didn't know each other 48 hours before it was taken, and they'll very likely be really good friends for the rest of their life. Making music is still huge. Our athletics is still just really going strong. Year before last, our men were the national champions of the NAIA. Our women this year were in the top 8, and the men were in the Final 4 again this year. Our head coaches are brother and sisters. Pretty awesome. Their dad preaches in Alabama. They're great, great guys. We're excited about our new facilities, our new dining hall, and we're thankful that in the front of that new dining hall, we have a Chick-fil-A. You can imagine how well that's gone over. We're excited that our auditorium is just finished up. phase one of a $10 million renovation. And phase two is underway right now, and it's where the porte-cochere will be added and an elevator as well. This is our old Gano building, and it's under about a $10 million renovation, $9 million renovation. And that's where our new computer science will be there, but our new engineering program will be in that building as well. And our photography studios has a $1 million renovation that's underway right now. And the best part of Freed-Hardeman will still be the people. It's always the people. Hey, come and visit us. Making Music, we had over 7,000 attend the week of Making Music. Lectureship, this is last year's theme. It'll be the first week in February. It's still the largest lectureship in the Brotherhood that doesn't have a registration fee. And you can have 200 sessions from Sunday night till Thursday night to choose from, and just come any or all those days, and it'll be a family reunion. You'll see people you haven't seen in years, and it's a spiritual feast. We have begun the last couple of years an equipped ministry camp for teenage young men that have a heart for ministry. Come and be a part of that the last week in May. It's a wonderful time. Mid-South Youth Camp still has 8 one-week sessions. June and July, and we'll have about 1,800 during the year that'll be a part of that. Horizons, we just wrapped it up. We have to cut it off. We cut it off this year at $9.96 every year, and we turn several students away. It's an amazing week together. Rush is in the fall, about 1,000, usually 1,500 come in for that for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's amazing. And hey, elders, deacons, and ministers, we have a church leadership workshop, and this year the theme is creating a culture of growth, and it's the first weekend in September. We'd love to have you to come. It's hosted at Mid-South Youth Camp, and we would love for you to be a part of what we're doing at Freed-Hardeman to strive to be just a really good resource to the kingdom. Have you ever wondered why people don't like you? That's not a very nice question for a guest speaker to ask, is it? Let's ask it this way. Are there things that any individual could do throughout their day on a regular basis that would cause people to just think, if I have a choice who to hang out with, I'd prefer not to hang out with them? Are there things that a person could do on a regular basis that would cause people to think, if I could choose who to hang out with, I would love to hang out with them? Now, do you think that those two things boil down to simple as personality, or is there more to it? I'd offer to you there's a lot more to it. I believe that a big part of it that we don't talk about very often is whether or not someone chooses to live a life of wisdom or a life of folly. If you study through the book of Proverbs with that on your mind, you will see characteristic after characteristic where God is showing us, you don't want to be this person. You don't want to be this person. And you'll see verse after verse where God is saying to us, you want to be this person. You want to be this person. If we accept and embrace the wisdom of God, it's a gift that He gives us, then we have that to live out in our choices and behavior with other people. Now, on the lighter side, I got to tell you one of my favorite little preacher stories on the lighter side. I love the story about the guy that he owns his barber shop. It's full of customers. He's cutting hair. He looks out the window and he sees the little boy approaching the barber shop. And he says, guys, you got to watch this. The dumbest boy in town is about to walk in the door. And so the little boy walks in, and he speaks nicely to everyone and shakes their hand. And while he's doing it, the barber is turned back to his cash drawer. And he's pulled out 2 quarters in one hand and a dollar bill in the other hand. He says, son, come here. Which one do you want today? Do you want $1 or 2 quarters? And the little boy takes the 2 quarters. He says, thank you, sir. And he tells everybody goodbye, and he exits the barber shop. The door closes, and the barber chimes in. See, guys? Dumbest boy in town. He does that every day, 50 cents over $1. How dumb can you be? Well, he is, one of the customers is going back through town, and he sees that little boy licking on an ice cream cone. He goes over to him and says, son, I got to ask you a question. Curiosity gets me. Why would you choose 50 cents over $1 every day? He smiles and takes another lick of his cone, and he says, mister, the day I take the dollar, the game's over. Have you ever noticed that wisdom is oftentimes, and especially when it's presented to you in a proverb, it's oftentimes up here where you're like, wait a minute, I don't really get it. I don't really see it. And then when it's explained and when it becomes known, there's that aha moment where you say, now I can't unsee it. Now it is so clear. So what is it that we could do in our life to gain wisdom? Well, the book of Proverbs, one of the 66 books of the Bible, which, by the way, every book of the Bible teaches us about the wisdom of God. But Proverbs, from the first verse to the last verse, every verse is only about the wisdom from God. There's 31 chapters. A lot of months have 31 days. What if from now over the next year you read one chapter of Proverbs every day, and as you read it, you look to see what is it that I need to do today that I'm reading about, that I need to apply this to my life. If you'll do that, I promise you, your relationships will be different in 1 year from now. There's no doubt about it. Everybody in here, if we all did that, our life would be different. And so why is it that maybe we would do things like this? Are you a loner? Proverbs 18th chapter and verse 1 says, a man who isolates himself seeks his own desire. He rages against all wise judgment. Okay, so whatever we have the potential to do here, notice it's against wise judgment. But he doesn't just say that. He says it what? He says it rages against wise judgment. I don't want wisdom. Okay? God, who is the person raging, saying, I don't want wisdom? God says, it's the person that isolates himself. Whoa, God, you're the one that made me. You know I'm not an extrovert. I'm an introvert. You made me that way. He's not talking about who's an extrovert or introvert. How do we know that? He tells us who he's talking about. Who's the person that isolates himself? The one that's selfish. The one that seeks his own desire. And so here's this selfish person that's figured out what? I can do whatever I want every evening of the week if I just don't have close relationships with other people. I can do whatever I want every Saturday. I can do whatever I want every Sunday afternoon. The more I pull back from people, the more I can do it my way. I don't ever have to go to a wedding, to a 50th anniversary. I don't ever have to help somebody move when they announce that crazy announcement at church. I don't ever have to volunteer to keep somebody's baby when they're in a dilemma. I don't ever have to volunteer to take food to somebody. If I choose to isolate myself, I get all of my time for me. And what does God say about that? Which, by the way, we understand that the very idea of relationship is that we invest ourselves into someone, right? Like we don't have a real relationship with someone that we're not invested in them. I give you a portion of me. And so what if we're like, no, I don't want to give you a portion of me. I want my time. I want my desires. I don't want you. God says, okay, you can do that. And you know what? You can isolate yourself. You can have all you want. But he says, just know this. You're raging against all wisdom. There'll be a time in your life where you get old enough to realize that the most important things in life is not things. The most important things in life are healthy relationships. How good is my relationship with God? How good is my relationship with God's people? How good is my relationship with people that are beyond the house of God? And we'll figure out that that's what matters. All right, I'll give you one more here, and then we'll go to a third one to close this lesson. But what I'm just trying to do here is give you a concept that you can go through all the Proverbs and look for things like this. Number two, are you a bad listener? He who answers a matter before he hears it, it's folly and shame. So whatever he's talking about here, he says if you do it, it's folly, it's foolishness. And he says you ought to be red-faced. You ought to be ashamed. Okay, so what is it that is foolishness and shameful? He says, it's answering people before you listen to them. Now, I'm thankful that none of us do that, right? Have you ever been in conversation with somebody and you realize this isn't a conversation? This person has not listened to anything I've said. And all they're doing when you are talking is waiting for you to stop talking because they already have in their mind what they're going to say. Do you know that if you want to prove, that's a strong word, if you want to prove to someone you respect them, listen to them. When you won't listen to someone, you're saying to them, I don't respect you. I don't need anything that you have to offer. You need to be listening to me. I don't need you. Ultimately, we can even say it's love, right? I don't really love you enough to listen to you. What does every high schooler in America want? I'm not saying they don't have it, but I'm saying every one of them want it. They want a parent that'll listen to them. There's a lot of parents that will correct them when they're wrong. There's a lot of parents that will tell them what they need to do. But there's a lot fewer parents that will just go in at night and sit on the end of the bed and say, "How was your day?" with no further instruction. Just listen. Just want to know what you're thinking. How you feeling? How you doing? You know what every congregation wants of their eldership? They just want to know that their elders care enough about them that they would listen to them. Wherever you work, supervisors, employers, business owners, you know what your people want? They want to know that you care enough about them that you care what they think. All right, let's close with this one. If you can give me 3 minutes, 2 minutes. I know we're out of time. Where to go? Proverbs 27th chapter and verse 14. My dad, which by the way, born in a log room in Cathy's Creek, he was the wisest man I ever knew, and I don't say that lightly. His wisdom was unbelievable. And but yet knowing him, it was no surprise because he read out of Proverbs every day. He read it so much that he couldn't help, but it just came out of his mouth. Like if somebody asked him something, "Roy, what do you think about this?" He would give an answer, and then he would just mention, he would say, well, Proverbs talks about that. And he would just throw out a phrase. I remember one time he was making announcements at church, and I was a teenager. And he made an announcement and just threw in a proverb while he's making announcements, which nobody thought anything about because that's the way he talked. And my buddy, like sitting over here like this, my buddy leaned over and he said, "I'm pretty sure if someone was not flushing the toilets here, your dad could make an announcement and use Proverbs on it." And so over lunch that day, I told him, I said, "Hey, Dad, this is what Brent said about you." And as soon as I said it, he said, "Well, yeah." And he quoted a proverb that just fits so appropriately. I was like, wow, it's amazing. And so, but the other thing to make this real to you, what Dad loved, was early mornings. You know that guy that puts his feet on the ground? It's like, this is the best time of the day. And he was on go. And of course, it would be bad if that was 7, right? His early mornings were more like 4:45, maybe 4:45. And so he would be helping Miss Clara set the table for breakfast and clanging the dishes and clanging. And you'd hear Mom saying, "Roy, you're going to wake up the whole house." Well, he already had. And if we had guests, Mom would remind him the night before, "Now, Roy, when you get up, we have guests. You have got to be quiet." He'd go out and slam the screen door. He just didn't think anything about it because everybody ought to feel good at 5 o'clock in the morning. One night, I was reading my Bible before I went to bed. I was a teenager, and I got to Proverbs, the 27th chapter. And I got to verse 14, and I could not believe my eyes. I read it like 3 or 4 times. I started talking to myself. I'm like, this is too good to be true. This is like my dad, and this is his book. Like this is amazing. And so this was before the days of cell phones and answer machines. So it was a time where at your house you had a pad beside the phone and you left messages to anybody that needed to know what happened while they were gone. And so I got up out of bed and I went over and I wrote on the pad because Dad wasn't home at that time. And I wrote on the pad, I said, "Dad, before you go to sleep tonight, you have to read Proverbs 27 and 14. I circled it, I underlined it. He who blesses his friend with a loud voice rising early in the morning, it will be counted him a curse." And the next morning, the house was quiet. And the next morning, the house was quiet. And the next week, and the next month, and the next year, the house remained quiet in the mornings. Listen, the reason my dad was such a wise man was he read Proverbs every day. And if it said it, his intention was to be wise. he was going to follow it. And so my challenge to you is to read Proverbs every day. But don't waste your time if you don't have any intentions of changing your life, because here's the thing. There's not a person in here that Proverbs won't change your life. And so the question is, do we want it to? Do we want to be changed by a daily pursuit of wisdom? Let's bow. Our most gracious God, we thank you for loving us. We know that you are the source of wisdom, and we thank you for offering that to us. And God, our plea is we'll be more like you in your ways, in your love, in your mercy, your grace, and your wisdom. And it's through your Son's name we pray. Amen.